franchise quarterbacks. On the Twitter, the folks at the Believe Network, they posted on the social. They put a picture of Daniel Jones. And they said, "Is this a franchise quarterback?"
Yeah, got a lot of conversation.
Oh my goodness! I had so many mentions and stuff on my page. I was like, "What happened? What did I do?" But then I saw what it was, and I was like, I was like, "Do I want to jump back in this mess again?" I said, "I'm gonna save it for the show." And my initial thought is, no, he's not a franchise quarterback. But let me point out, the one, he has played good ball this year. He is going to get a new contract, and he deserves a new contract. But to me, in the NFL, there ain't but max 5 franchise quarterbacks. And to me, a franchise quarterback is somebody you can put on another team and he's going to elevate that team. And it doesn't matter where you go. You don't have to necessarily put in a particular scheme. You don't have to say, well, if I have this guy, I need to add X, Y, and Z. The guy is going to go to that team. He's going to elevate the play. My 5, and it was really like 4.5, and I'm kind of, obviously, we're going Burrow and Mahomes. This is not ranking them like 1 through 5, mind you. Burrow, Mahomes. I said Josh Allen. I was willing to put Mr. Aaron Rodgers in that conversation, even though, yes, he's 39 years old and he's kind of coming back on the backside of that hill. I still think he's a franchise quarterback, and he'll be an upgrade at the position for basically any team outside of these few that I'm naming. And then I want to say my 4th was Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar is a quarterback that his skill set alone. Before this season, I was like, well, he hasn't really shown a whole bunch. But then this year, he was flinging that thing all over the place. And I was like, okay, that's what we want to see. But I think a lot of people around the league are just saying he's only a running quarterback. He's only going to be able to use his legs. And you see how impactful his absence for the Ravens has been. It lets me know that if he goes to another team, you'll be able to play him up. You're able to get him to play at a high level. He can help your offense. So those would be my top 5, like franchise quarterbacks that can really change where a team is at and help them go to another level. Outside of that, everybody else, they're still good quarterbacks, but I think that it comes with an asterisk, right? Like Jalen Hurts, he's getting close. He's going to be close to that conversation. This has been his first year, but I don't know if you're going to take Jalen Hurts out of that particular offensive style and throw him in something else, and he's going to have that same level of success. You know what I mean?
Yep. And this is what I wanted to talk about earlier. I thought I saw a good comparison on Twitter. I don't know who it was, but it kind of feels like with the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, like, yes, there's this urgency, or like, especially after the way their last 2 seasons have ended, like to potentially replace him. But where are you going to get one of those other 5 guys? I mean, those guys aren't available. I don't know that you're going to be able to upgrade. And that's not a knock on Dak. I mean, I think he's right there, right below it. To me, it was kind of like what the Redskins had in Kirk Cousins. Everybody wanted to replace him. Everybody was so critical of him. And, now they've, 5-6 years later, they're still looking for a quarterback. Like, you don't, and the 49ers are showing you don't have to have a franchise quarterback to win. But you're right. There is some, there are some guys that are up above everybody else to where change the jersey, change the coaching staff. It doesn't matter. They're gonna effectively run the offense. Whereas some other guys are limited and they need weapons around them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some of the best quarterbacks of all time have needed weapons around them. Yep. But you're absolutely right. There's like a line there that like people don't always see. They just want to say elite or not elite. And there's so much that goes into it to where, there really is only a handful, and those guys don't like, especially in Washington search for a quarterback. Like, are you going to get somebody like that? I don't know. Maybe it is right to just roll with, a rookie, a young guy, Sam Howell, like we talked about, and build up the roster around him. We're seeing the 49ers do that. Yeah. And then maybe you draft down the road and develop the next franchise guy, but it's not just like picking one off the tree, and there's not a whole bunch of them.
They're not out there like that. Like one team that I thought about, and I tend to always lean to talk about this team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Coming out of the draft, I mean, I feel like people were, I don't know about Kenny Pickett. He's got small hands or whatever, but he's like growing and showing that he could play and have success in this league. And the thing about Pittsburgh is that they're going to build a good team. And you look at the teams on the NFC side, San Francisco and Philly, they have good teams. Now, if you go to the flip side to the Chiefs and the Bengals, you can say that if you remove those quarterbacks, it's going to be a big step down in play, right? Yeah. When you can replace 3 quarterbacks in San Francisco and still have success, that tells me the team is overall really good.
Well, look at the Chiefs. They lose arguably their best weapon over the last half decade in Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes is right back in the AFC Championship game. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, I mean, is Daniel Jones franchise quarterback? My answer is no. But the thing is, for me, is whenever you're in that mid range, and it was labeled like this. They're good players. It's like I could win with them, but
right.
I can win with Dak Prescott. I can win with a Taylor Heineke. I can win with these other type of these quarterbacks. But that you need to upgrade around it to help those guys play at a higher level. Like for example, for like a Dak Prescott, to me, it gets down to you're looking at the same offense and you do the same thing all the time, and you kind of get programmed to that. I think Daniel Jones has made a progression because he's been programmed to take his first read. If it's not there, quickly get to your check down. If that's not there, take off and run. That's not a bad thing. That makes it very clean, but it also makes it predictable. And Philly sits on, they will let the guy run an outside release go, knowing that if I'm 8 yards off, he's not going to ever throw this thing. And they can play downhill into those out routes. Now, next level says, okay, I'm going to quick pump fake to this out, and then I'm going to let this sucker go down the sideline. That's going to make you respect that deep ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like, when you're looking at a Patrick Mahomes and a Burrow, like, those guys are ready to do that stuff right now.
Yeah.
So, so when you're in the same offense for a long time, like that's kind of my big issue with Dallas is you got, the way Jason Garrett did things, that same offense. And obviously, Kellen Moore played in that, and he was in the same quarterback room with Dak. And when he's the coach, they're still going to run things that the quarterback likes. Mm-hmm. They're going to ask you, what do you want to do? I always use the chef analogy. It's like, what do you like to cook with? Oh, I like to use these type of ingredients. Okay, well, let's get you those ingredients so you can be successful.
Yep.
But you're also going to end up being slightly predictable. You're going to have to look at things differently and take a next step. Look at, maybe you don't hang on CeeDee Lamb just because he's running against a linebacker in the middle, but over here to the left, you had T.Y. Hilton wide open.
Yep.
That tells me that in practice, you probably only throw it to this one guy, right? Just because you can execute the play and go to play person number 1 all the time doesn't necessarily mean you're awesome. Like you're able to make that throw, but go to the next level. You see, I'm getting long-winded here, but I remember you would always see Drew Brees in practice pregame, and he makes his first throw, but then he continues through his progression as he works his way through. That's because he's saying, okay, if 1's not there, where's 2? Where's 3? Where's 4? Take yourself to that level. I think a lot of guys out there, if they can go play at that level rather than trying to hang on number 1 and number 1 isn't open immediately, quickly get to your next read, quickly get to your third read and move yourself through. And that's going to help elevate a lot of these guys' play.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of offenses, I think that's a natural transition. We're seeing 4 of the best offenses, I think, in the league. They all do it a little bit differently. They've all taken guys from different coaching trees. That kind of brings me back to the Commanders and kind of their offensive coordinator search. We've heard a couple of new names over the last week or so. I feel like every day you're hearing something different. We heard Thomas Brown, the former Georgia running back that's been on Sean McVay's staff. He was on Mark Richt's staff in Miami. Anthony Lynn, the former Chargers head coach, has been on the 49ers staff. I think both of those guys have interviewed or are going to interview. So some different names in there. What are your thoughts on the offensive coordinator position for the Commanders? Do you think they wait this out till like the Super Bowl's over and everybody's available, or do you think they're making a decision in this next week? And what is your feel there? What are you thinking?
Well, I was excited to see Thomas Brown's name come across. It wasn't necessarily on my first list, but coming from the Rams staff, you know he's going to be very well prepared and obviously working with Sean McVay. And I like what Sean does with his offense. I mean, you see the success that he's had with 3 wide receiver sets. I'm big on that
Yeah, you said
because
that.
because I think that you've got the skills out there. You got to find a way to boost that and get the most out of that. So I'm excited to see what he was able to put up there. Eric Studsville, if I'm saying it correctly, Dolphins associate head coach,
Right.
RB coach. He was also interviewed. Anthony Lynn. So it's exciting to see some different names because Anthony Lynn's been over there in San Francisco. He's gonna you picked up some things that you've done in the past. You picked up some new things in San Francisco, and now you get to walk into potential situation in Washington. I like seeing those different names like that rather than the guys who coached for 20, 30 years and they've only done it one way. I don't want that. You got young blood in Sam Howell and the rest of that offense. You kind of got to get somebody that's going to match that energy.
Yeah.
So I think that they're doing a good job just continuing to do the search slowly but surely. And I'm not too upset with them waiting a little bit longer. What difference does it make if you wait until after the Super Bowl? I think that you're going to get guys that are going to be able to focus on their job. And if you have them on your list, see how their players actually perform in these games. See how they step up. That'd be something that I would be interested in seeing. That way you're not really rushing to do anything because you're not going to do anything with them right now.
Right.
League year don't start until in March. So you got a little bit of time. Still, make sure you fine tooth comb and make a good, solid decision for somebody that's going to be able to come and join your team.
Yeah. The more names that come up make me a little more optimistic that they are going to wait and try to find something a little more fresh. And whether it's waiting on one of these guys to shake loose after, these last few games or something like that. I do like that they're looking at all different options. And I agree, Thomas Brown was not a name that I really considered, but what better place to go than Sean McVay, who has largely been considered one of the better offensive gurus of the last, 5-6 years. We see Zach Taylor, who I'm not sure anybody was super high on him other than the Bengals. We were like, okay, you're just hiring him because he's from Sean McVay's tree. And now he's looking to potentially go to back-to-back Super Bowls. So I think the best teams go, or the teams that have the quickest turnarounds, it seems like, and I guess you could do a study and really dive deep into this, but it feels like the teams that have the quickest turnarounds are the ones that go and get an assistant, a coordinator from a team that has been successful. And, there are a bunch of different lines there in the 4 teams that we have left. And we saw, Kyle Shanahan has had coaches picked off. He came from his dad's tree. I mean, that is the way to go. And so, yeah, I'm all for waiting it out and talking to guys from teams that have been successful, because that's what you should want to be, and that should be where you're wanting to head to.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you got to think 2 defensive coordinators coming up out of San Francisco are about to go be head coaches. I mean, obviously you got Robert Saleh up there with the Jets, and you see how that team has kind of had a progression this last year. And then the DeMeco Ryans is probably gonna, he's definitely gonna be a head coach this year.
Yeah.
Might be ended up down there in Houston, who I want to say he played for Houston. So that's a welcome. You get a bigger office now. You don't got to be in the locker room.
That's right.
So that's exciting. That shows that you're really developing some players and some coaches and allowing them to be successful. So I mean, Kyle Shanahan's got so many coaches. I mean, he's got almost 5-6 coaches. He's got a whole bunch of kids in this league now, man. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Maybe I should have went into coaching, but that's neither here nor there. Go ahead.
Well, then it's like, so Frank, coaching news around the league, Frank Reich is moving on to Carolina. One of his former assistants is Nick Sirianni, who is in the Final Four. I mean, there are just so many different lines that you see, for lack of a better word, NFL bloodlines that you see just connecting through. Nathaniel Hackett, fired from the Broncos, now going to go be the offensive coordinator for Robert Saleh. His offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, is going back to coach with Sean McVay in LA. So these guys hire guys that have been on successful staffs or they've had relationships with. And it seems like it's going to continue. And so it's interesting to see what the Commanders do, what some of these other teams do, as some of these openings get filled throughout the league.
Yeah, I honestly talking about the Panthers. I think that they made a mistake in not keeping Steve Wilkes. I mean, that team. We thought they were. I thought they were going to be
Yeah.
picking in the top 5, or I don't even know what they're picking now. But I thought they were going to just flounder all the way down to the top of the draft, and then they actually fought and they showed some growth to finish the year. And I mean, Ryan Clark was talking about it. Steve Wilkes got 1 year in Arizona, and he had a quarterback who's not even on a roster right now, and he got replaced for Cliff Kingsbury, who's now been fired. It's like I don't understand why you don't give this guy a chance. Maybe we do understand, but it's upsetting to see that he's not getting that opportunity. It's like, come on now. What do you want to do? And now, and people feel that in the locker room. They really do. I mean, I remember times before where you trying to go and fight for somebody to be a head coach or be able to stay with the staff, and then somebody well above your pay grade makes a decision to switch it up. And as a player, I mean, it's your job to show up and still perform, but you're like, man, they should have kept so and so rather than making this switch. And you try to be optimistic and positive about it, but I think Steve Wilkes should have been the head coach down there in Carolina.
Well, you mentioned Houston. I'm curious to see what some of those players might think. The second straight year they've had a one and done at head coach, and Lovie Smith, a guy that's had some success in the league, and another team that's record wasn't very good, but they played some competitive games and they beat. They won in the last week of the regular season. It looked like they were probably putting something promising together, going to pick high up, get a good quarterback, and he's out just like that. So, yeah, I don't know that teams always make the right decision, and it seems silly that, no offense to a guy like Jeff Saturday, but like a no coaching experience, and he very well could be a head coach, while there are two proven guys that have been solid coordinators and had some success that are just kind of dumped out there. And like you said, there might be some other reasons, and that's unfortunate. And I think that's something that needs to change in the NFL. It's not right, and there's just something off there. It doesn't seem right.
Yeah, and I think Lovie Smith did a hell of a job with Houston. Yes, the record wasn't great. I get all of that, but I mean, to take a job that literally nobody else wanted,
right.
Shoot, and then, frankly, when they had David Culley, like that name came out of nowhere because they waited so long to try to get somebody. I mean, I don't know. This is the frustrating part about it, where it's like from the outside looking in, you're like, what in the hell are you doing? What is going on over here, right?
Yeah.
Why is it that the people in the front office get to stay for so long, right? They get to see their little plans play out and make bad decisions. Nobody ever wants to go and dump a GM and be one and done. They let the GM's plan play out, and I don't know. They always say the league ain't fair. It ain't fair, but you try to treat people with respect, and that's a big old story. I'll tell it quickly. The Jimmy Johnson story to Troy Aikman and another rookie. Jimmy says, "I'm going to treat you all with respect, but I can't treat everybody fairly." He said, "If Troy Aikman falls asleep in a meeting, I'm going to wake Troy up. But if you fall asleep, I'm going to cut you." Yeah. And that's what happens. And unfortunately, Steve Wilkes and Lovie Smith and David Culley, those guys end up getting cut. Even though that you see progression with the team for another person. So it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating, and you hope that like good guys like that, because they seem like really good guys, that they land on a staff where they're valued and hopefully get a coordinator position, and then hopefully get a chance to do it again. But it's unfortunate because there are guys that have gotten way too many chances, and you're like, why? And and then there are guys that seem to do everything right and can't get another shake. It's just it's bad.
It really is. It really is. It makes you wonder. But hey, I've always said, like, hey man, it's like the way that a lot of the owners, you amass your fortune, you didn't do it in one shake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And chances are you're not going to go back to the well of something that failed in the past. So, hey, let's go back and try that again. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. But when you see some progression somewhere, I don't see in whatever their other business is, if you're seeing growth and progression from what's going on right here, why would you go and remove that manager?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But hey, Hey, that's
Hey,
all.
we hopefully somebody's listening. Okay, listening to Believe in Commanders. We're solving not only the NFL's problems but the world's problems right now. So
Hey.
check us out. Make sure you're always listening. This is a good therapy session. We got some answers if they just tune in to AAA and BMurph. We got you, and you can listen to us wherever on TuneIn Radio, SiriusXM, Stadium, all your favorite streaming platforms. You can see the videos and AAA's memorabilia wall back behind him on YouTube. So be sure to check that out. And we appreciate all those platforms for bringing you the show every week.
Yes, indeed. And once again, thanks to our folks over there at Bet Online. Go use our code 50% towards your welcome bonus. It's BLEAV over there at betonline.ag. Go check it out, team. I like it. You can make those bets. You can roll with us. If you don't want to, that's fine. And they even already have all 4 different combinations of Super Bowl matchups. So
okay.
Let's see. Right now, Cincy versus San Francisco is a 1-point spread. So that'd be a little rematch. They have 2 historic two matchups in previous Super Bowls. Kansas City, technically a visitor to San Fran, where Kansas City is a 2.5-point favorite right now. Cincy and Philly is a 1-point favor to Philly, and then Kansas City is a 1.5-point favorite. So Kansas City is continually a favorite, and Cincinnati is a 1-point dog in both of these early Super Bowl predictions. So, matter of fact, let's do it right here. Who you think is going to be in the Super Bowl? Hey, you already said San Francisco and Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's right. San Francisco, Cincinnati, and I would take Cincinnati. I think they are the hottest team, and I'd roll with Joe Burrow. I think he's a man on a mission.
Well, I think Kyle Shanahan gets his Super Bowl win this year. I think there's too much firepower, and that'll be a perfect way to add that trophy to to all of his other accomplishments. I think this is the year that Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers get a Super Bowl trophy.
And knowing the way the NFL shakes out, we'll be talking about the Eagles and the Chiefs next week.
Yeah, and if so, hey, we'll break that down
right.
next week. We'll be right here with you folks. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Do me a favor, share this with a friend. Send it to somebody who needs to hear some quality NFL talk. But B Murph, it's been good. I will see you at the next one. See you next week.
Sounds good. Be good, you guys. Thanks for checking us out.